Hello, everyone, and welcome to Coffee with Ori. Today is Monday, and I'm your host, Ori. Today's show is about what it is or what it feels like to be, well, what is it? What it is to be human having a spiritual experience or vice versa. I don't know about you guys, but I know Dr. D and we often have been said, it has often been said to us in our practices and growing up and learning about our spirituality that we are human beings, we are spiritual beings having a human experience, but are we really, are we really human beings having, spiritual beings having a human experience or human beings having a spiritual experience? Whichever one. So, Jesus Christ, I'm sorry. I am so sorry about that, guys. I did not realize that I had my phone on. As we go on to meditation, the one thing that we learn is that we are spiritual beings, and as spiritual beings, we are having a human experience. Might not always be a great human experience to many people, but one of the things that I keep repeating because, Dr. D reminds me and has reminded me for months is we have to trust the process. And there is a process. And it might not always be at our time level. It may not always be the way we want it to be, but the process is real. And the process comes and it either teaches us to release personal things or it teaches us to let go of things, not having attachments to things that can be replaced. Of course, a life cannot be replaced. So therefore, we're not talking about lives. We're talking more about material things or places or having to revert to go from one place to another, switch from another place to another. And that is where we learn if we are spiritual beings or human beings. If we're human beings, we can adjust. We can't adjust. But if we realize that we are spiritual beings having this experience, we are able to sit back, analyze the situation, and decide whether we're strong enough to detach. And if you are strong enough to detach, then you're able to walk away from it without looking back and without saying, I should have done this, or I should do this, or I need this, or I need that. When technically you really don't need any of those material things, you can always do without. And if given the situation where you had to make a change in something, you would always find a way to make a change and shift those things that you feel that you can't shift, but you eventually can. So, human experience or spiritual experience. And this is something that I believe that we are spiritual beings having a human experience, not human beings having a spiritual experience. We're spiritual beings having a human experience. So, which ones do you guys think? Hello, Giselle. Which ones do you think it is? I want to hear from you guys. I want to hear what you guys think because Dr. D and I are the ones always coming up with these answers, and you guys have been tuning in for a while, and you guys are on the spiritual level. So, what do you feel? What do you guys think? Are we human beings having a spiritual experience, or are we spiritual beings having a human experience? Let us know. As you let us know, I'm going to keep going on something that is relevant to this, because this is what we have been talking about for months now, about vibrating on a different vibrational level. We are vibrating. So the other day I was reading this article in this science magazine where it was saying that the earth is rotating faster than it ever has been. So that proves that we are vibrating at a higher frequency now. So because we are vibrating at a higher frequency, it makes things either manifest quicker, and what seems to be manifesting quicker is anger, negativity, frustration, poverty, all of these things, future beings adjusting in this new human life form. That's a good answer. I think that's a very good answer, Coralis. What was the question? The question is, do you think, hello everyone, hi Coralis. The question is, do you believe that we are spiritual beings having a human experience? Or, wait, do you believe that we beings do you feel that we are beings, spiritual beings having a human experience, or human beings having a spiritual experience? Which one? Spiritual beings having a human experience, or human beings having a spiritual experience? So, like I was saying, so in the science magazine, it was saying how the Earth is going around faster, so therefore everything elevates faster. But what we don't realize, that in the point in the point that, well, not the point, in the process of the Earth moving faster, so is the magnetic field. Give me a second. Somebody's knocking on my door. 1 second, guys. What's this show? Bye. I'm sorry, guys. That was my neighbor returning my car keys. Okay. Corales, I feel that we are humans in a spiritual experience. Well, humans in a spiritual experience. Actually, we are spiritual beings having a human experience, and we have been having a human experience for many, 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 many lifetimes. And it has been proven by people who are spiritual that can tap. I can honestly say that because I remember my past lives, many of them from the beginning, I am able to remember so many, which not many people can do that. Corrado, you're not the only one that doesn't feel human. Most people who are spiritual beings, who are in spirituality, who are doing all this stuff, our confusion is so great that we don't feel like we are spiritual beings. We feel like, I mean, we don't feel human. We feel like we are misplaced, like we don't belong here. So, a lot of us, if we check our DNA, which Dr. D and I have, and many people have with 23andMe or the other one that they have out there, or even a genealogy, there is a percentage of our DNA that cannot be traced. Not everyone has it. Not everyone has it. But there's a lot of us that have in our DNA a certain amount, a certain percentage, which is 5%, 10%, that cannot be traced to anything. So that is something that you have to ask yourself, where do you come from? And what DNA are you carrying? You know, I know it sounds funny, but it's the reality. I mean, a lot of children today are being born and parents think that they're slow or that they're autistic because they're not talking. But yet you sit them down in front of a laptop, or you sit them down in front of a pad, and these kids know how to work an iPad with no problem. They know how to work it without anyone teaching them. So are they really autistic, or are they really just experiencing they're experiencing, or they're still living in their spiritual side, and they haven't yet found a way to fit into their human bodies, so they're still vibrating at a higher level, so therefore it's easier for them to deal with electronical stuff because they're still living in that spiritual realm. So it starts to make sense in many ways how these things shift. It is it is difficult sometimes to really differentiate between one thing or another, because many of us were born into religious homes and we were taught to believe just certain things. And because we believe these certain things that we were taught to believe, we go with it. And we go with it because it's what we know. It's not being offensive, it's not being facetious, it's not trying to create a problem. It's what we know. It's the only thing that we know. So therefore, we just go with it. But you don't always have to go with things. You don't always have to just do everything that you feel that you have to go with. Sometimes you have to be your own person and just go with what your gut tells you. And if your gut is telling you, there's something not quite right with me, or you feel like you are not, like you're not a human being, it's because maybe there's something that's connecting, or it's connecting you. More and more poor people are going back, are trying to connect back to the old gods. It's not a matter of connecting to one god or many gods. It's we're going back, or as we get older, we go back to our old traditions. It's not about gods. It's about living our truth. It's about living with the idea that we are gods within ourselves. We're not God. We're gods. Um, and even in scriptures, they tell you that, many of them have said it. We are gods within ourselves. Don't we understand that? We need to understand that we are gods within ourselves, because we control this body of ours. We control our minds, and we have the free will to create what we want, to manifest what we want, and to develop the things that we want to develop within ourselves. Do we always do it? No, because we're always second guessing ourselves, because we're always doubting ourselves, because we're always having pity parties about ourselves, because we don't feel that we're strong enough to manifest anything, or because we manifest these little goals and we think that that's all we're good enough to manifest. I mean, I tell people that I may have to live in a smaller space, but it doesn't mean that I don't want a mini mansion. I've always loved big homes, big plantation homes. And, I know I'll be around for a very long time. So I'm not going to just go with one thing and believe that that is what I'm deserving of, because I'm not. I'm deserving of better and bigger. And I think everyone is deserving of bigger and better. I think that if people stop being so insecure and jealous of each other and stop trying to downgrade everybody, and start to realize that we are not human beings having a spiritual experience. We are spiritual beings having a human experience. And we've gotten so used to living as human beings that we have lost what it is to be empathetic, sympathetic, loving, and caring, because that is what the spirit is. The spirit is love. It is emotional. It is caring. It is loving. It is understanding, and it is logical. And as human beings, no matter how logical we try to be, we're not logical at all. We have issues. We tend to put things down and put people down because it is what we have learned. It is a behavior that we've learned to be cruel, to be obnoxious, to want to have things that we don't work for. And we get mad when people reach a goal that we've never reached. So instead of being happy for them, we become very angry with them. And in reality, we're not angry with them, we're angry with ourselves. So again, that's a spiritual being having a human experience and getting stuck to the human experience. So then we believe that we are human beings having a spiritual experience, but a spiritual experience is limited. We're not limited. We are vast. We are big. We are enlightened in so many ways. And when we're born with that. We are born without ignorance. We're born with light. We see, we hear, we acknowledge. But as you get older, a lot of these things are instilled in you. If you tell your parents at 2 years old, 3 years old, I see this, your parents are going to be like, oh, Lord, this person is imaginary friends. And they start making fun of you. So then you lose sight of what it is that you see. And you assume that, oh, well, let me not say that because all I'm going to do is cause problems. Well, sometimes the best thing to do is just to see these kids, what they're going through, and not say anything to disrupt their growth. Let them be who they're supposed to be. Let them be the spiritual beings that they are, and let them go into their human self when they're ready. Because sometimes when I tell people, oh, your child is growing into themselves, and they look at me, they think that I'm saying, oh, your child is ugly and they're growing into a future. No, what I'm saying is your child is growing into themselves, because you can tell by the way they talk or by the way that they act that they're not fully developed as a human being. They're still in the spiritual realm. They're in between this realm and their reality realm, which is the realm they came in here with, which is a spiritual realm. So therefore, when you see children like that, look at them, observe them really well. And if you notice that they stare at you, they're only looking at you because they're trying to figure you out. Not you figure them out. They're trying to figure you out. And they're trying to figure out what it is that you're trying to figure out in them. They don't have to talk right away. Most children that don't speak at a very young age, when people think they're supposed to speak, they end up speaking too damn much when they get older, a little older, like 4 or 5. Some kids don't talk. Like Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan didn't start speaking until he was 7. And, he's a very famous person. He's a very well-spoken person. And he's very intelligent. A lot of people don't realize that these children come into this planet from an incarnation, and their spirit is adjusting. Some babies adjust very quickly, some don't. If they adjust very quickly, that means that they've already had many, 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 many incarnations and they're already used to jumping in one body into another. But if they haven't, then that means that they will take time to adjust to this body. And sometimes the vibration is so high that the children are sick. Sometimes they have problems with their ears. Sometimes they have problems with their speech patterns. Sometimes they have problems trying to figure things out, or sometimes they're a little slower than most people. But it doesn't mean that they are autistic or that they are in the cusp of autism. It just means that they are adjusting to the body, to the mind, to the spirit. They're adjusting to all of that. So you have to give them some type of time. Okay. Before we continue, does anyone have a question about this topic that we're talking about? Does anyone have a question about something that may have happened, or something that happens to you every now and then where you feel like you understood or you understand, but you quite don't really understand? Because that has a lot to do with it. I know that there are a lot of people that may not know certain things, and then all of a sudden when they start to do something, or they say, well, you know what, I'm going to figure this out. And they don't have to read a pamphlet. They don't even have to go on YouTube to find out. They look at the part and they try to figure it out, and they're like, wait a minute, I can do this. And they figure it out really quickly. And that's not the way that the mind works. That's the way the spirit works. Spirit works very strangely. Sometimes you understand it, sometimes you don't. Sometimes you can grasp it, sometimes you cannot. Sometimes things may seem difficult, and sometimes things may seem fearful. Sometimes these fears come from a past life, and sometimes the inability to be able to grasp something, or that you fear it for some reason, is also because of a past life. And sometimes if it's too emotional, it just means that the past life that you're suffering through, that you haven't worked out yet, it's not been that long. Because some of us, we can incarnate quickly, and some of us can incarnate years later. I think that when we die, we choose, when we want to come back, whether we want to come back right away or whether we want to take our time to incarnate, until eventually we decide, when we come back, what we're going to do in this planet, or what we're going to do in our bodies, whether it's incarnation in this human form, or whether it's incarnation in an animal form, or whether it's an incarnation in an alien form. We have the ability to come back as whomever we want to, but I think it's just a matter of choosing choosing a product. It's like when you go online and you want to sell, you choose the product that you want to sell. So it's basically the same thing. You come to this planet, or you come to this body, knowing the parents that you're going to have and the experience that you're going to have with them. So it's just a matter of adjusting yourself to the experience. So think about that. I'm still waiting for someone to ask whatever they want to know, so that we can continue, because we have an interesting meditation today, which is about healing. It's all about healing and manifesting. This one is about relaxing and healing. So, it's pretty cool. And it's quite interesting. I mean, I think the topic is quite interesting, about having a human experience or not having a human experience, but I also think that it is a multicolorful topic, because there are people who don't believe that we reincarnate, and there are people who don't believe that we are spiritual beings. They believe that we're just human beings and that's all that we are. But there's so much more complexity to our being, to our state of being. It's so much more complex. It's not just black and white. It's multifaceted of many colors, and it just shows our growth. But if you don't feel that, we do incarnate, and we're stuck on, this is what the church teaches us, then it just shows it just shows the level in which you are in, and it shows, what not just what level you're in, but also the type of energy that you're emanating at, the frequency. Because if you believe that you're just you, and you're just a human being, and you have a sorry life, and your life is not filled with much of anything, and you haven't achieved many things, and you don't see yourself growing, and you're doing the same routine thing, and you're not changing because you're happy doing just the same routine, then you're living a mundane life, and you're just allowing yourself to rot, because you're not allowing your spirit to be free, so that it can create the goodness that it can, the ability that it has to create greatness, and you make yourself stuck by just settling. So I just want you to know that, not understanding exactly where you are, who you are, and what you're here to do can also create an obstacle that, instead of making you move forward, it doesn't make you move forward. It makes you move backwards. It makes you stay in the same level, not really doing much of anything, just staying stuck. And I don't think that's what you want. I think, as human beings, we want better, we want more, we deserve more, we should have more, and we have to learn that we have the capability to either do more, have more, be more, contain more, adjust with more, and desire more. We have the ability to want all these things, and we can get them. It's just a matter of really coming to terms. Sometimes bad things happen to good people. That's what we're often told, and it does. But sometimes these things happen, but we know deep down in our spirit that these things they were going to come about because we chose that. We knew that it was coming when we chose to go into these bodies. We knew that these things were going to happen to us, or happen to the people that we care about, and we need to accept, admit, release, and trust the process. We need to allow ourselves to want more, to know that we have the ability to create more, not desire more, because desire is a human feeling. It is not a spiritual feeling, it is a human feeling. But the ability to know is a spiritual feeling. The ability to know that we are great beings, that we can create, that we are here to create, that we are here to make things greater, to become healers, to become all knowing, to become all seeing. Those are all spiritual qualities. We are here for a reason. We have a purpose. Every single one of us has a purpose. We all play a part. We all play a role. It's like being in a movie. We all have a role. Some of us are extras and some of us are not. But we all come here to play a role. Some of us are, you know, the star. Some of us are co-actors, but we all have a role, and we have to continue to play our roles so that everything can start shifting the way that we need them to shift. It is very important that we do that. And it is very important that we understand that we have the ability to do that and to move forward in that. We have the ability to do that and to move forward and to continue on our journey, because we're here on a journey. We're not here to play games. We're here to fulfill something and to continue on this journey of ours. So it's just a matter of us moving forward on this journey of ours and deciding how we're going to deal with what's going on in our lives, and to understand that development, we already were born with development. We already were born developed. We were already born with all the information that we needed. The computer that was in our spirit came already equipped. And if we allow ourselves not to understand that, then we don't grow. We just stay exactly where we are, and we become like our parents and their parents before theirs. We become satisfied, and we become we're put in a position where we just acknowledge that what we have is all that we're worth, and we accept it, and that's not a good way to be. So I think that it's time for people to, when you start to meditate, you start to ask yourself, or ask the inner you to start to reveal to you who you are and who you're supposed to be, because it is important that you acknowledge all of these things about you and understand that you are here to do great things, and you can continue to do great things, and you can move forward in the avenue that you should be in if you believe and you understand that your mission here is not just to stay still or to just have a job, a menial job. Your meaning here is to do greater and to have bigger and better and stronger. Okay? I'm going to find the meditation that I've chosen for today, and I'm going to put it on. It is music to calm the fears and anxiety, to reduce stress, physical healing, and it will help you sleep. But this meditation, I find that it is good when you're doing it for you to think about the things that you want and bring them up. What do we call it? It is good for you to, while you're meditating today, just think about what it is that you want your spirit to reveal to you. And as you're going in, just ask yourself, to the spirit that lives within me, show me what my purpose is and guide me through my purpose. Okay? So I want you guys to take a deep breath right now, as hard as you can, as deep as you can. And I want you to hold it. Don't close your eyes yet, just hold it. And then I want you to release it. And I want you to take another deep breath. And I want you to hold it. I want you to release it. I want you to hold it. I want you to release it. And now I want you to hold it again, count to 10, and close your eyes. I'm going to play this music for you. I want you to ask your spirit to help you to find your purpose. Okay, guys. It is 10:03. I didn't realize that we went over a little bit, but this is the meditation for everyone. I didn't quite get your message, but I'm going to send a copy of this meditation to everyone today because it is very important. And remember, the question was, are we humans having a spiritual experience, or are we spiritual having a human experience? Think about that. And when you do the meditation again, ask your spirit to take you where you have to go. Why some people are not spiritual, feel so happy when they see us. Well, sometimes that's the way it is. Sometimes when you evolve, they see something in us that we don't see in ourselves. Do you think that we close off spirituality with negative? Yes, we do. We close ourselves off when we're negative, and we close ourselves off when we're not thinking right. Okay? So this is all for today. Dr. D, if you are there, you can go to commercial.
I'm
It's
here.
10:04. It's
I
time
know
to,
what time it is.
okay. And I'm going to start sending this meditation to everyone. Please follow through, and thank you for this.